She stepped into first class, wearing a simple linen dress and worn flats, moving with the kind of quiet confidence that makes people uneasy when they can't place it. They didn't see wealth. They didn't see status. So they laughed, whispered, and assumed she didn't belong. They mocked her, judged her, called her a fraud, and forced her to leave her seat. What they didn't know? She co-owned the very airline they were flying on. By the time the plane landed, every insult, every smirk, and every whispered joke would be replayed in the boardroom she helped build. Because sometimes, the woman you try to shrink is the one rewriting your rules. Amara Carter stepped into Denver International Airport just after sunrise, the cool March air still clinging to the glass doors behind her. She moved without hurry, worn flats padding softly against polished tile, a canvas backpack slung over one shoulder. Her ivory linen dress fluttered slightly as she adjusted the strap. No jewelry, no logo, no noise. She was a quiet figure in a loud space, and that made her invisible to most, at least at first. The check-in line moved briskly, business travelers shifting impatiently, families herding toddlers toward TSA. Amara stepped forward at gate 16. The agent, a young white woman in a navy blazer, scanned the boarding pass, then frowned. "Can you confirm your name again?" she asked, eyes flicking from screen to linen. "Amara Carter," she said calmly. The agent hesitated. The pause wasn't procedural. It was personal. Amara felt it. The hesitation that asks, "Are you sure?" A man behind her chuckled under his breath. "Maybe she's lost," he muttered to no one in particular, but loud enough to be heard. Amara said nothing. She didn't need to. She walked down the jet bridge without glancing back. Inside the first-class cabin, soft gold lighting glowed over plush leather seats. The scent of lavender lingered in the air. Amara found seat 2A, placed her backpack gently underfoot, and sat. She pulled out a worn paperback. Its pages creased from years of reading. That's when Vanessa Reed in 2C leaned toward her neighbor and stage whispered, "Who let her in? That dress looks like it came from a donation bin." Her bangled wrist sparkled as she lifted her phone. Maybe she's some charity project trying to manifest a lifestyle. Her voice was meant to travel. And it did. A ripple of soft laughter rose from nearby rows. Someone across the aisle raised a phone, pretending to check messages while recording. Another voice whispered, "She doesn't look like first class." Behind the curtain, Miranda, the lead flight attendant, flicked a glance at the manifest. She turned to Tracy, her younger colleague, and nodded toward Amara. "Go check seat 2A. Tracy hesitated. "You think she—" "Just go," Miranda snapped. Tracy approached, her tone falsely polite. "Ma'am, can I see your boarding pass?" Amara handed it over without a word. Miranda appeared seconds later, flanked by Logan. She didn't greet Amara, didn't smile, just stared at the ticket like it had offended her. "There seems to be a mistake," Miranda said tightly. 2A is reserved for VIP. Amara met her eyes. "That's me." Miranda ignored the reply. She gestured to Logan, who already looked amused. "Please come with us. We'll get this sorted." Passengers leaned into the aisle to watch. Vanessa laughed under her breath. "Told you she didn't belong." No apology, no verification. Just the assumption. And the decision. Amara stood slowly. She picked up her backpack, slid the novel inside, and followed them. No argument, no scene. The walk to the back of the plane was quiet, but heavy. Eyes followed her like a spotlight. Comments floated through the air like smoke. She really thought she had it. They'll let anyone up front these days. Maybe it was a promo seat. Seat 32C. Tight. Cramped. She sat. She didn't protest because she didn't need to. She already knew how this story would end. Because this wasn't the first time she'd been underestimated. And it wouldn't be the last time someone learned what happens when you mistake silence for insignificance. She opened her book again. Not to read, but to wait. Seat 32C wasn't just narrow. It felt like punishment. The armrests pinched, the air tasted like recycled apologies, and the overhead light flickered just enough to be irritating. Amara Carter settled into the seat with quiet precision. She placed her backpack beneath her legs, crossed her ankles, and exhaled slowly. Not out of frustration, but out of knowing. She'd been here before. Not in this row, on this plane, but in this space. The space where people mistake dignity for invisibility. Across the aisle, a man with a loud tie and louder voice leaned in. "So, what's your story, sweetheart?" he said with a grin too wide to be genuine. "First-class stunt gone wrong?" Amara looked up, meeting his eyes without blinking. "I'm just flying," she said softly. His wife, Lisa, sat beside him with her phone angled just right to capture Amara's profile. She whispered, "This is gold." Her fingers tapped quickly. The caption on the video read, "First-class faker caught." The moment it posted, reactions started piling in like luggage on a broken carousel. "Budget queen. Back to her lane. Coach Couture incoming." Someone replied with a gif of a folding chair. Someone else screen-recorded Lisa's post and added, "She really thought she was someone." Amara didn't flinch. She tucked a loose curl behind her ear and opened her paperback, the same one they'd mocked earlier. The pages had held her through tougher storms than this. The aisle grew louder. Tracy passed through with the drink cart, her smile bright and generous. For everyone except Amara. She skipped her row entirely. No eye contact. No offer. No hesitation. Behind her came Logan, carrying a stack of scratchy blankets. He stopped at Amara's row, smirked, and tossed one into her lap. It landed unevenly, half on the floor. "There you go," he said. "Can't say we didn't hook you up." Someone in the back laughed. "5-star treatment." Amara folded the blanket and placed it neatly beside her. She didn't speak. Miranda's voice floated from the front. "Focus on your section, Logan. Leave the charity case alone." That word, charity, rippled through the cabin like a dropped tray. Heads turned. A few passengers snickered. The recording phones tilted subtly toward her again. 2 rows up, a teenager opened Twitter. He'd seen the video. He posted a new tweet. "Lady in 32 degrees Celsius got dragged. First-class flop. LOL." His post hit 60,000 likes before Amara's water bottle was half empty. The woman next to her, in yoga pants and acrylic nails, scoffed. "Bet she faked the ticket. That dress? Come on." "Probably a sob story for her blog," added someone else. Tracy returned with more drinks, pausing at Amara's row just long enough to look her in the eye and say, "Oops." Ran out. She smiled sweetly before moving on. Amara uncapped her own water bottle, took a long sip, and returned to her book. It wasn't rage sitting with her. It was memory. It was record. It was calculation. She didn't need to retaliate. She just needed to remember. Midway through the flight, Lisa refreshed her post. 730,000 views. Dozens of duets. Hundreds of comments. A few defended Amara. Most didn't. That's what happens when you pretend to be rich. These people think kindness comes with a seat number. The cabin hummed with collective cruelty. Casual, gleeful, unchecked. Still, Amara sat perfectly upright, her breathing slow, her eyes calm, because what they were watching wasn't her fall, it was their reflection. And she was documenting every detail, without lifting a single finger. The elevators at Ether Air's Seattle headquarters opened with a soft chime. Miranda adjusted the collar of her blazer as she stepped out. Tracy followed, cheeks flushed with anticipation. Logan trailed behind, his signature smirk firmly in place. "This has to be about yesterday," Miranda said, smoothing her bun. "We handled that whole scene professionally. Kept first class clean," Logan added with a grin. "Brand integrity." They didn't notice the glances from the receptionist, or the tension threading the air like invisible static. They signed in, collected their guest badges, and followed a junior executive into the main boardroom. Inside, the room gleamed with chrome finishes and panoramic views of Puget Sound. A long glass table sat at the center. At the far end, a screen was already lowered. A legal pad, a carafe of water, and a remote rested beside it. They took their seats near the front. No one greeted them. Miranda leaned toward Tracy. "Maybe they're pulling video from the flight. Hopefully HR noticed how calm we stayed." Tracy nodded, though her hands were restless in her lap. Then, the door opened. Ethan Carter stepped into the room. No smile, no small talk. His presence quieted every shuffle and whisper. At 6 feet 2 inches, with dark hair and a gaze that didn't flinch, he commanded attention without asking for it. Behind him came Amara. Same linen dress, same calm face. No badge. No introduction. Miranda's throat tightened. Logan straightened. Tracy's mouth fell slightly open. Amara didn't sit at the guest chairs. She walked directly to the front of the room and stood beside her husband. Ethan tapped the remote. The screen came to life. A pause. Then, Lisa's video. The sound played clear and sharp. Vanessa's voice. "Who let her in?" Miranda. "We need to verify." Logan. "Coach Couture." Tracy. "Don't make a scene." The laughter. The whispers. The phones. The silence after Amara was removed. When it ended, no one moved. Ethan stepped forward. The woman you laughed at, questioned, and demoted is Amara Carter. He turned. My wife, the co-founder of this airline, the co-author of our Customer Dignity Charter, the person whose values were supposed to define the service you swore to uphold. Gasps didn't follow, just silence thick enough to drown in. Miranda's hands twitched in her lap. Logan looked away. Tracy shrank an inch in her chair. Amara stepped forward. No raised voice, no venom, just truth. I wasn't just disrespected, she said. You dismissed the very core of what this company stands for. You didn't see a passenger. You saw a problem to remove, not based on behavior, not on boarding status, but on appearance. She let the words settle. You didn't just humiliate me. You trained the rest of that cabin how to treat people like me. She placed a folder on the table. And it wasn't just me. This file documents 27 similar incidents. Passengers judged for their clothes, their accents, the way they look. Most didn't have the power I do. The board stirred. A few leaned in. Amara continued. This isn't about revenge. It's about restoration, about truth, about the standard we claim to represent, and how we keep failing to meet it. Ethan nodded. We don't get to choose between protecting profit or protecting people. We choose both, or we lose both. He turned to the board. Today, we vote. There was no hesitation. One by one, hands went up. Unanimous. The crew didn't speak. They didn't argue. They just sat in the room they thought they belonged in, watching the woman they tried to erase take back every inch of it. Because the charter on their wall, the one they ignored, she wrote it, and now she was rewriting them. The vote wasn't just unanimous. It was immediate. No debate, no delay. The board didn't ask for apologies. They demanded accountability. Miranda, Tracy, and Logan weren't fired. That would have been too easy. Instead, they were reassigned. Strategically, deliberately. Each placed where they'd have to live with the discomfort they once inflicted on others. Miranda, once the gatekeeper of first class, now answered phones at the customer complaint desk. Her headset felt like a punishment. Her inbox overflowed. Every call came laced with fury. Are you that lady from the video? One caller barked. The one who humiliated that passenger? Unbelievable, said another. You should be ashamed. Day after day she was forced to listen. Really listen to the voices of the same kind of people she used to ignore. Her tone, once cold and clipped, began to crack. Her patience, once performative, was tested raw. Each call was a mirror, and every shift lasted a lifetime. Tracy was reassigned to economy service. Row after row, aisle after aisle. No backup, no easy passengers, no curated smiles. On her first flight back, a woman refused her drink. You're the one who laughed at her, she said sharply. I saw your face. My daughter did too. The rest of the cabin watched. No one defended Tracy. Tips dried up. Compliments vanished. She moved like a shadow now, quiet, overlooked. The charm she once used like armor meant nothing. Her smile, once smug, fell flat. Even the crew whispered. Not cruelly, but cautiously. She'd become a warning, not a teammate. Logan's new assignment, baggage claim, no air conditioning, no applause, just heavy bags, confused travelers, and Seattle rain. He worked under a low canopy, sweat clinging to his back, fingers stinging from wet zippers. Handle with care, the tags read. No one said the same about him. A college student recognized him, phone raised. That's the guy from the first-class video. The clip went viral, again. He stopped smiling at work. His jokes faded, his posture slumped. Each day ended with sore arms and silence. No one clapped, no one cared, and that was the point. All three were enrolled in Amara's new training program, Dignity First. A full curriculum, written modules, role-play simulations, case studies from real passengers. Every section began with a line from the charter Amara had written years ago. Every seat holds a story. Treat it with honor. They couldn't just skim it. They had to take tests, pass workshops, write reflections. Tracy read about bias in service. Miranda studied the psychology of humiliation. Logan sat through a virtual session on microaggressions and class assumptions. All of them watched footage from their own flight, over and over. Amara didn't narrate. She didn't show up. Her face was enough. The system didn't need her hand. It ran on the blueprint she'd created. None of them dared to complain, because deep down, they knew. It wasn't punishment. It was clarity. The kind that stripped away defense and left only truth. Weeks passed. Their uniforms wrinkled more easily now, their voices gentler, their eyes softer. Passengers noticed. Colleagues noticed. But it wasn't redemption. Not yet. Amara never called to check in, never asked how they were adjusting, because this wasn't about her revenge. It was about letting the system she built do what it was designed to do. Restore. Educate. Unlearn. Justice didn't wear anger. It wore patience. And in that patience, they weren't just facing consequences. They were facing themselves. It began with one video, grainy footage from a phone, filmed sideways, with Lisa's whisper narrating like it was a joke. First-class faker. Look at her. No way she belongs here. By the time the plane landed, the clip had already climbed past 500,000 views. The hashtags took hold. #1 first-class fail. #1 she tried it. #1 budget Barbie. But then something shifted. Someone recognized the woman in the video, not just as a passenger, but as a name, a story, a leader, the co-founder of Ether Air. That changed everything. By the next morning, her first-class fail was overtaken by a new tag, Ether apologize. And beneath it, the storm hit full force. Twitter turned ruthless. TikTok exploded with stitch reactions. Hold on, that's Amara Carter, the co-founder? Y'all bullied the woman who wrote the damn customer charter. You really escorted the architect of the airline to row 32C? Investigators online began digging. Because the internet never forgets. Screenshots surfaced. Tracy's old tweets from college, mocking ghetto passengers and calling budget travelers seat squatters. Miranda's public Facebook post surfaced next. One photo showing her smirking beside a caption, "Private jets are for real clients, not coach crawlers." Logan wasn't spared either. Reddit threads pulled up years of comment history. Posts about class order in cabin spaces. Remarks on maintaining front cabin standards. The receipts were everywhere, and they burned. Media outlets joined in. CNN ran the headline, "Ether Air co-founder humiliated in cabin she helped design." Forbes published a feature, "Amara Carter's silence sparks global conversation on class, race, and dignity in the skies." The calm face from the video, head high, hands still, eyes unwavering, became the symbol of a system cracking under its own assumptions. Comment sections that once laughed began to shift. She never even raised her voice. That's real power, walking through the fire without flinching. They mocked her like she was nobody. She turned it into a movement. Meanwhile, Lisa's social media went dark. Her video, once pinned with pride, vanished overnight. She deleted her TikTok, then her Instagram, then her Twitter. Before she vanished, she posted a single note in her story. "I didn't know who she was." No apology, just evasion. But the internet didn't care. Greg followed suit. He released a 3-line statement. "We were unaware of Ms. Carter's position at the company. We deeply regret the misunderstanding." Comments flooded beneath. "She shouldn't need a title for you to treat her like a human." Still sounds like, "Sorry we got caught." No one bought it. Because no one needed to. The truth was already airborne. Through it all, Amara stayed silent. She didn't release a statement, didn't tweet, didn't clap back. She didn't need to. The noise wasn't her battle. It was the echo of a structure breaking apart on its own. Her silence wasn't absence. It was architecture. Every click, every share, every stitch video was part of the structure she let reveal itself. She had nothing to defend. No version of the story to explain. The world saw it. Raw, unedited. She just watched. From a distance, from strength. Because the real power wasn't in the replies. It was in the ripple. It was in the way flight attendants whispered differently now when checking IDs. In the way passengers asked questions before judging. In the way people, even briefly, looked twice at who they were laughing at and who they were ignoring. It was in the fact that Amara didn't have to speak for the world to hear her. She had already spoken. With poise, with policy, with presence. And now, the sky carried her message. Even if they never saw her coming, they couldn't unsee her now. Weeks had passed since the video, since the boardroom, since the ripple turned into a wave. The media storm had quieted. The headlines had faded. But something deeper had changed. The kind of shift that doesn't make noise, but reshapes everything it touches. Denver International looked the same. Same glossy floors, same terminal buzz. But Amara felt something different in the air. Something less performative, more aware. She moved through the airport like she always had. Unbothered, unguarded, unnoticed. Her linen dress flowed with each step, the same one, the same flats, the same soft bracelet her grandmother once gave her. Nothing had changed about how she moved, but everything had changed around her. At gate 19, the agent looked up, scanned the name on the boarding pass, and smiled. Not the forced smile of duty, but the kind that carries recognition and respect. "Welcome back, Miss Carter." Amara nodded politely, her tone warm but modest. "Thank you." No one second-guessed her this time. No one squinted at her shoes. No one asked her to wait one moment. The system that once tried to eject her now opened, seamless and smooth. She stepped into the cabin of Ether Air's flagship route, Denver to Chicago. First class gleamed in its usual gold hue. Soft jazz played. Fresh citrus hung in the air. The seats were plush, familiar. Seat 2A was waiting. So was Logan. He stood at the front, not grinning, not ducking, just present, the lines under his eyes a little deeper, his voice low, steady, sincere. "Welcome back, Miss Carter," he said. Then, with a pause, "Thank you for the lesson." She held his gaze a moment, not cold, not forgiving, just still, then nodded. "You're welcome." She took her seat, slid her bag under the cushion, pulled out her novel, opened to the page she left weeks ago. Across the aisle, in 2B, sat a black teenage girl, hoodie too big, duffel bag at her feet. She held a book, too, though her hands trembled slightly as she leafed through the first few pages. Nervous energy clung to her like static. She kept glancing around like she wasn't sure she was supposed to be there. Amara noticed it instantly, that posture, that quiet fear of being seen too much, or not seen at all. Tracy walked by. She paused, leaned down, and offered the girl a small pillow and a bottle of water. "If you need anything, just ask, okay?" The girl nodded quickly, surprised, grateful. Miranda followed shortly after, not with snide remarks, but with a warm tray of food. "We have a few extra meals, no charge. Would you like one?" The girl blinked. Sure. Thank you, kindness." Without condition, without performance. Amara watched it unfold quietly from across the aisle. This flight wasn't about her anymore, not her name, not her story. It was about what followed her silence, about the air shifting, about dignity moving through every aisle like a current that couldn't be reversed. The training she authored wasn't just a formality now. It had shape, voice, eyes. It moved through Logan's hands as he adjusted seat recliners without judgment, through Tracy's tone as she handed out snacks without calculation, through Miranda's eyes as she scanned faces, not outfits. Amara didn't interfere. She didn't need to. The culture she planted was beginning to root, and across the aisle, that nervous girl, soft-spoken, hoodie-wrapped, unsure, now sat a little straighter. She ate. She smiled. She exhaled. The plane lifted into the sky. And for the first time in a long time, Amara closed her eyes mid-flight, not to brace, but to rest. Respect, finally, was no longer something to be earned. It was something guaranteed. Dignity now flew at every altitude, and the woman who had once been forced to walk to the back of the plane, she'd turned that walk into a runway. And from it, a new standard took flight.